Guyana moves to deal with an influx of Venezuelan refugees, and in sport, Andrew Russell in and Marlon Samuels out as the Windies ODI squad for the three-match series against Bangladesh is released. I'm Ricardo Robertson. This is Caribbean in 10 for Tuesday, July 17. I'll be back with the details in just a moment. The Guyana government says it's moving to address the influx of Venezuelans who have been arriving in the country via the hinterland borders. Now, representatives from the Ministry of Public Health, Social Protection Communities, Citizenship, the Guyana Police Force, and the Civil Defense Commission, who constitute a newly formed board, met for the first time yesterday on the issue. The group is expected to prepare a coordinated effort to give structure to the government's response to the situation. According to Minister of Citizenship Winston Felix, the administration will be reinforcing the Immigration Department in Region 1 to deal with the irregular arrival of Venezuelans into the country. But the government said it is working to facilitate the refugees. Recently, much needed supplies, including medicine, food, and camping equipment, was sent to villages near the border shared with Venezuela. Meanwhile, a delegation from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Citizenship has returned from the border town of Puerto Ordaz in Venezuela. The team conducted an assessment to ascertain the effectiveness of the government's response to the current situation. Just last week, the regional chairman in Region 1 complained about the large number of Venezuelans coming over into his region and putting a strain on resources there. The Fisheries Division in Trinidad and Tobago has been ordered to discontinue issuing permits for the importation of processed crab meat and live crab from Venezuela. This instruction came from Agriculture Minister Clarence Rambarat following reports that the U.S. and Drug Administration has found a bacteria in fresh crab meat from the South American country that can cause cholera. He says that the crab meat referred to by the FDA is processed and packaged, and the Ministry of Trade has stopped issuing licenses for the importation of the product. According to Rambarat, there is an ongoing illicit trade between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago and live crabs. He said his ministry has always cautioned consumers about the health risks associated with consuming seafood and meat illegally imported into the Twin Island Republic. The Mexican charter company that owns the plane that crashed in Cuba earlier this year has attributed the tragedy to human error. Now, according to the company, data recorders showed that the Boeing 737 had taken off too steeply, creating a lack of lift, which caused the aircraft to plunge, killing all 112 people on board. The company said it based its assessment on data from the plane's data recorders, which had been extracted by a team made up of investigators from Cuba, Mexico, and the U.S., and representatives from Boeing and engine manufacturers Pratt & Whitney. However, the Mexican Pilots Union, ASPA, said that Daj Moore's statement that was released before the official investigations has concluded was responsible. Now, the crash on May 18 was one of the worst to happen in the Caribbean for decades. Eyewitnesses described seeing the jet burst into flames before crashing into a field close to a wooded area, near Havana's main airport. Former Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Sir Lester Bird has called for Barbuda's parliamentary representative Trevor Walker to meet and discuss with Prime Minister Gaston Browne a compromise on the airport construction controversy. His call comes less than 2 weeks after an injunction was filed in the High Court to halt the construction of a new airport on the sister isle. The challenge by Barbudan John Mussington and Jacqueline Frank claims that proper procedures were not followed and critical requirements were not met by the central government before construction began. They contend that multiple governmental departments failed to conduct an environmental impact assessment to receive the approval of the Barbuda Council for the proposed plans, and the proposed plans submitted for the construction were inadequate. But Prime Minister Gaston Browne calls the complainants seeking to create strife, but it is unacceptable.
Now that the airport, at least the runway, is almost completed, they're now seeking to create strife. Now that cannot be acceptable. We're spending $50 million to build a new airstrip so that we can bring more people to the island, so that you can have a thriving tourism industry. But you can have a situation that now that we've invested $50 million in an airport and building a runway, that you're now going to stall the project and stop the project. That will be $50 million that will be put to waste. It serves no constructive purpose.
Now, following the filing of the injunction, Attorney General Stedroy Benjamin said that the application is without merit and has no legal footing. Stay with us, your Midday Sport is next.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Avoid sightseeing.
Explosive all-rounder Andre Russell is poised to play his first one-day international in 3 years after being named in a 13-man squad for the 3-match series against Bangladesh starting next Sunday in Guyana. But no place has been found for veteran right-hander Marlon Samuels. The 30-year-old Russell has not played since the tour of Sri Lanka back in 2015, with his availability having been further compounded by a year-long ban for anti-doping whereabouts violation which ruled him out of all competitive cricket last year. He, along with superstar opener Chris Gayle, are the most experienced members of the Windies ODI setup, which otherwise comprises a number of young players. All-rounder Carlos Brathwaite, along with left-arm spinner Nikita Miller and seamers Kesrick Williams and Sheldon Cottrell, have all been ignored, while Test seamer Kemar Roach has been rested. Speedster Alzari Joseph has returned to the side after recovering from a stress fracture, which kept him out of competitive cricket for most of the year. As expected, the squad will be led by Test skipper Jason Holder and includes impressive 20-year-old pacer Kimo Paul and Test left-hander Kieran Powell, who has not played an ODI in over a year. That's Caribbean Intel. Join us again at 6:30 for Caribbean Newsline. Good afternoon.